Brandon Pettit, and I am with UCP of Central Florida, and I am here today with Brian Hampton, who is the Director of Development and Communications for the Christian Service Center.
Good morning.
And we are here at Boardwalk Bowl this morning over on East Colonial, where later this morning the Chamber will host its monthly, I'm blanking on the name. It is the, I'm stalling because my brain just completely blanked. Great Lunch Adventures, that's the word. I was using that earlier. So our monthly Great Lunch Adventures here, Boardwalk Bowl at 12:30. But in the meantime, Brian and I are going to talk a little bit about the Christian Service Center. They are one of the featured charities for our upcoming local charities luncheon. And well, let's get to know a little bit more. So tell us, what is the Christian Service Center and what do they do?
So the Christian Service Center is a day center for the homeless.
Okay.
So we're helping people that are currently unsheltered on the streets, but we're also helping thousands of people in the community that are at the risk of becoming homeless. So we're trying to prevent them from getting on the street in the first place.
So you guys have kind of two directions, preventing homelessness and then helping those that are currently in the homeless situation.
Yes, we
out of that.
We have the ambitious goal to actually solving homelessness
in
Central Florida.
Fabulous.
Now we're not going to do that on
so
our
you want
own.
to get out of you want to go out of business. Your ultimate goal is to go out of business.
That would be an excellent goal, and then we can go into selling
used cars.
Used cars, right?
So which do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the services you guys provide to those that are currently experiencing homelessness? Or do you want to talk about the services you guys provide to prevent that situation?
My guess is there's a lot of people that don't know what the Christian Service Center is.
Okay.
So I thought I'd give a little bit of context, give you some context on how we came about.
Great.
The Christian Service Center is very much tied to the arrival of Disney here in Central Florida.
Okay.
So we're going back to the late 60s. So Walt Disney, I don't know how much you know about it. But
I'm a huge Disney nut. So fire away into Disney history.
Buying swamp property in Central Florida.
Yep, exactly.
And then once it's announced that a park was going to be built here in Central Florida to rival the one in California, it created almost like a mini gold rush.
Okay.
Right? So people came from around the country to this sort of backwater, sleepy town of Orlando, hoping for these new opportunities and jobs. And there were a lot of jobs. But when the park opened in 1971, a lot of those jobs went away.
Okay, so the things like the construction and the services leading up to opening it. Okay.
And so there wasn't a social service network back then in Central Florida in the 1970s, early 70s. So people that found themselves without anywhere to go, without food, without shelter, where did they go? They went to the churches in downtown Orlando.
Okay.
And so a collection of 6 churches got together and basically created the Christian Service Committee.
Okay.
And they eventually hired an executive director. And so on June 1st, 1971, the Christian Service Center was founded as a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've been helping the poor and those in need ever since.
Wow, fabulous.
And so, it's amazing because that's like 53 years ago, and here we are in 2024, and homelessness is getting worse.
Okay.
And so the Christian Service Center has had many programs over the decades, and some of them we continue to do. Like we help people with rent and utilities. We have a food pantry at each of our 2 locations. Other programs have evolved. Some other partners have actually been on our campus and have incubated there, if you will, until they get their own legs and they go on and become nonprofits themselves.
Oh, it's almost like a startup nonprofit.
Kind of. Okay. Yeah. And so that tradition of trying new things and experimenting with new programs, we've kind of really embraced that since 2020 with the pandemic. As bad as the pandemic was, it really created an opportunity for us to sort of evolve as an organization and to become a more impactful agency in the community to help people. It's not just a handout. We're not just giving out meals. We're not just a soup kitchen, I often say. A lot of people think of us as the Daily Bread Soup Kitchen, which we have as one of our programs. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's so much more than just a soup kitchen now. And so, again, these aren't handouts. This is all means to an end to draw people in, to create a safe or a sacred space they can come to during the day.
Okay.
It's not a shelter, but it's a safe space during the day that they can get access to basic and advanced services, hopefully to the point where we can build relationships with them. They can talk to case managers, and then we can find out how to get them to what we call the 3 H's, how to get them hired, healthy, and housed.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where we're going now as an organization. But it all started back in 1971.
Wow.
And so we've served over 5 million meals since then.
Fabulous. Yeah. That's an incredible number in just 53 years.
Right. Last month, we served 973 meals in one day.
In one day.
Which was crazy. Yeah. So again, we're seeing the need more and more at our doorsteps.
Okay.
And so it's create challenges for us as a nonprofit. It's almost like the problem is becoming not just a costs for charities and churches. It's becoming an emergency on a federal level.
Okay.
Where we're now working with the city and the county to talk about solutions. Shelters, you've heard about the recent acquisition of Orange County property that's going to become a new shelter in downtown Orlando.
Okay.
I just saw that on the news this morning. They're talking about that. And so again, the city and the county are really embracing what we're trying to do. We all believe in the housing first approach. The idea that if you get someone to a stable house situation, they're much more likely to get back on their feet. A lot of the people that we help that are homeless, they have jobs and they work.
Okay.
But what do they do with all their stuff during the day, right? How do you focus at your job when you're on the street at night and you can't sleep?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe your shoes got stolen or your ID's lost again, or all your stuff is wet from the rain, or you haven't had a shower and you're self-conscious about your appearance. You know, so again, the idea to get somebody into a stable house situation, maybe remove them from the dangers of being on the street, the temptations, and all the things that come with being outside 24/7.
Okay.
To get them into a house situation, they're much more likely to have the resources and the confidence and just the overall safety of having a roof over your head to be able to have the focus to do your job and save money. And so it's extremely challenging in Orlando when we have an affordable housing crisis here. Rents continue to skyrocket, and it's a real problem. And so it's just one of the many facets of homelessness. There's no one direct cause, but affordable housing is the primary cause that people just can't afford to live here.
So if someone is currently employed in a house, has housing, is currently living, but is about to experience struggle or is on the verge of losing their home, and they call you guys, how do you help those type of folks? What can you do for somebody who is about to lose a home or is about to get kicked out or evicted?
So the Christian Service Center is one of the only agencies in town where you don't need to make an appointment.
Okay.
You can reach out online, you can call us, you can just walk in the door.
Okay.
And that's one of the things when I first started at the Christian Service Center, it was hard for me to get used to the idea is every morning there's people at the front door.
Okay.
That will never end. Like the job never ends. There will always be people in need.
There's always a need. Yep.
And so you can just reach out to us. The really first step, if you're experiencing a crisis of financial means, you can't pay your utilities, or maybe you've been served an eviction notice because your rent's behind, and maybe you've been working with your landlord, but you're at a point where you just can't keep your head above water. The first step is to fill out an application online. We have an online application. You don't have to come into the office. You can fill it out online. You don't have to download it. You used to have to, when we first created it, you had to download it, print it out, fill it out, and then scan it and send it back. And so a lot of the people that we help maybe don't have access to a printer or bad Wi-Fi and all those things. So getting all those documents, it's a really lengthy application because our grant funders have particular requirements.
Yep, they want to know a lot of information.
Exactly, and that's frustrating. Obviously, to be honest with you, it's frustrating for a lot of people to have to jump through those hoops.
Yep,
but that's just the reality of the situation, and we can't help everyone. And that's also a challenge for our case managers is that some people just don't qualify. And so we have to supplement. Maybe they don't qualify for rent and utility system, but we can get them into our food pantry. We can help them with clothing. So it's kind of offset their budget so that they can pay their utility bill or get caught up on their rents. Mm-hmm. But really, the first step is to fill out that application online to see if they qualify, and then we get them into the right grant-funded program to help them.
And I would assume, like you said, there's always people waiting at the door. There's clearly always people filling out online applications. You guys must have staff that are just there and ready to go, seeing those applications come in and getting started right away.
God bless our case managers. It takes a special breed to do that. We see people on our campus. We see about 300 unique people a day at our campus. Where I work at the downtown office, which is actually in historic Paramore, just west of downtown Orlando.
Okay.
And then we have a small office out in Ocoee in West Orange County as well. And then we, for many, many years, for decades, actually, we served East Orlando through an office in Winter Park.
Oh, okay.
At a church in Winter Park. And so we continue to have church supports and partners here in the Winter Park and East Orlando area.
Oh, great.
But yeah, the need continues to grow. But at our downtown location, what I was going to say is we see people having the worst day of their lives pretty much every day. And so we see every range of emotion. Yep. And so there are people that have maybe tried to get by on their own, and now they're at a point where they've been served that eviction notice.
Okay.
And so they need help like right away. And so to find out that the process can take a couple weeks, it's very stressful and it's very aggravating. Okay. And so again, God bless our case managers for being able to navigate that. And then a lot of the assistance we provide, it's not just a one-time here's a check. We don't give the check directly to the clients, but we don't just pay their rents or utilities and then send them on their way. A lot of the relationships we're building are long term. In many cases, for example, we have a program where we have to move families, particularly mothers with children who are on the streets, get them into a house situation, and sometimes that means putting them in an extended stay hotel.
Okay.
Until we can find them an apartment, which is extremely challenging when we have limited inventory, to say the least, when it comes to apartments that are affordable. We're trying to move clients into housing that they can afford, and so they can be self-sufficient.
Okay.
So that they don't end up in this crisis again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's getting harder and harder with rents continuing to rise. The inventory of affordable units keeps going down, and then people continue to move into the Central Florida area. And so it's just getting more and more challenging.
And they're seeing competition just from folks moving into town,
right?
Not because they're trying to take anything away from someone. Just, I moved to Orlando. Yes. I'm looking for an affordable apartment, and well, there's a lot of people that are doing that, and so that kind of puts you guys in a bind where now you're trying to get someone who is looking for assistance into that same spot, and there just aren't as many spots.
My wife and I chuckled. We live in the Lake Nona area, and we constantly see billboards for new neighborhoods popping up left and right, and it's homes from the low 420s. It's like, well, we live in a service industry, if you think about it.
Yep.
You think of the travel and the tourism area here in Central Florida, that is the bread and butter of Central Florida, right? And so you've got bartenders, servers, theme park workers, housekeepers, all of the thousands of jobs in the service industry, and those are traditionally low-paying wages, right? And so, yet the demand for housing here in Central Florida is so high, and people keep continuing to move here,
that those developers can sell that house starting in the 400s.
We've got school teachers in Orange County. We've got firefighters that literally can't afford to live in the area that they work, and that's tragic, and it's sad, and it's again just creates the challenge for us as a nonprofit with limited resources. Our budget is just under $4 million. But 4 years ago, it was just under $1 million. That gives you a sense of the growth. Yeah. And so it's an exciting time for the organization, but it's also a scary and a messy time. We often say we're building the plane while we fly it. The campus is constantly in a state of flux. It's almost like musical chairs where we need to move our food pantry over here to better serve this area, or we have a new partner coming in, we need to move them here. And so the campus is constantly in flux. But it's an exciting time to see the progress, and just to literally to see the people that were, again, going from a nightmare situation, being out on the streets, to get them into a stable environment where they're housed and they can get back on their feet. And just because we get them housed, by the way, Brandon, doesn't mean that their problems end. The struggle continues. For all of us, we things happen in life. And just because we help somebody one time doesn't mean they're never going to have a problem again. People continue to struggle, and cars break down, and family members get sick and go to the hospital, and jobs get lost, and it's an ongoing struggle. And so it really just kind of solidifies the reason that an agency like the Christian Service Center needs to exist.
Great. Well, I'm sitting here with Brian Hampton from the Christian Service Center. We are at Boardwalk Bowl over on East Colonial. Today is Great Lunch Adventures at 12:30. So when we're done today, we've got 2 more interviews this morning, and then all our viewers here, why don't you head on over here to Boardwalk Bowl, get together for Great Lunch Adventures. If you tuned in earlier with Allie and Mandy, they were talking about the pizza and the wings and all the delicious food that was really making my mouth water at 9 o'clock this morning for things that normally you wouldn't talk about at 9 o'clock in the morning, but it sounded really delicious. So 12:30 today here at Boardwalk Bowl. But to get back to talking to Brian, you mentioned earlier more than 300 people will come through your doors in a day. And so when they come to you, when they come in person for your services, what types of things are you able to help with when they wait in line to see you, or when they knock on your door, or when they come through your doors on any given day? Yeah.
So again, just to be clear, we're not a shelter, so we don't have overnight accommodations.
Okay.
In fact, in all of Orange County, and you know how big Orange County is, there are 3 shelters, and they are in the downtown corridor.
Okay.
That's it. So as you can imagine, they are pretty much full every night.
Every night, high demand.
And so there are It's hard to know the exact number, but estimates are that there's between 2,000 to 5,000 people on the streets tonight in Central Florida. Now, some of them are sleeping in cars, or they're couch surfing, or maybe they're getting an extended stay hotel for a couple nights.
And how many, among those 3 shelters, how many people can get accommodated? How many people will be able to sleep in one of those shelters tonight?
You're only talking about a few hundred.
A few hundred, okay.
Yeah, right.
So just a very small percentage of the thousands of people.
So when you and I, if you're at an intersection and you see someone on the corner who's on the street, you can tell they've got the cardboard sign. That is the tip of the iceberg. If you were to take all of the homeless and put them on the streets of Central Florida, pretty much at every intersection with a stoplight, you would have somebody on all four corners. Yeah, I mean that's
an interesting perspective to figure out how to visualize that for those of us who might not work in the industry or might not experience those that are facing homelessness, to see, okay, well, every other or every couple of lights we see one person. But if we had them all together, to your point, 4 people per intersection, that would be a much more visual struggle for a lot of folks to see that every day.
It's a very sobering thought. And so we at the Christian Service Center are immersed in it every day, and we get to know the people that we see. Like I said, I told you earlier before we started, pretty much everybody on our campus is already unsheltered and they're experiencing homelessness. Now, some of them are staying at the Coalition for the Homeless, which is just a block down and a block over from our location. But during the day, they need to go somewhere.
Okay.
And so if they're not working, they need a safe space where they're not panhandling, they're not loitering somewhere. There's now legislation that took effect on October 1st that's essentially outlawed camping, even sleeping in your car. So in a way, it's sort of a legalized homelessness. And so people who have no other option now face penalties, fines, and even jail time for just existing outside. And so that is a very sobering and scary thought.
Yeah.
So the need for having a day center, a place where people can come to during the daytime, where they can be treated with respect and dignity, and they can feel safe, and they can get access to things, not just meals, but showers, to get a shower, to get your laundry done. If your clothing is so soiled from maybe the heat and the elements, where no amount of washing is going to help it, we've got a thrift store. We don't sell anything, but you can get a voucher and get new clothing. And that is that's one of our biggest needs. I'll talk to you a little bit about is we constantly have a need for clothing, particularly men's clothing.
Okay.
But you can charge your cell phone there. You can talk to a partner about job placements. We have a computer lab on campus, so you can reach out to family members online. You can apply for Social Security benefits. You can use a phone. Even though most of the people we help are on the streets, almost everybody has a cell phone.
Wow. Okay.
But those are often tied to minutes. They got it at a convenience store, and the phone.
So you need to reload it, or
But if you're going to be on hold for 2 hours with Social Security or applying for SNAP food benefits, you're going to burn through your minutes. So you can come to our campus and use one of our landlines.
Oh, wow.
Save your minutes.
Okay.
So little things like that.
Yeah, sure.
The average person not.
Right, here I'm thinking, this person has a phone and this person needs to call to set up services. Sure, that's great. Right. They can come and charge their phone. But I'm not used to thinking of the phone use in terms of minutes anymore.
Right. And like I mentioned, we help people with rent and utilities, but another part of what we do is to reunify families, to reunify members. It's a cost-effective way for us to get people off the streets. We're not housing them, but we're doing the legwork to establish a connection with maybe a family member. It might be a brother in Tampa or a sister in Atlanta. Okay. And so we're just paying the cost of the bus fare. Now, we don't just put them on a bus and send them out of town. We do have a 2-step process to verify the relationship and make sure it's a safe situation. But we do try to reunify family members. It might be a runaway teenager.
Okay.
I'm trying to reunify them with family that's looking for them, and trying to, again, all of these relationships are messy and complicated, like life is. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, God bless our case managers for going that extra mile to try to make those connections. But oftentimes it's just bus fare. It's a little bit of help with some clothing. We have a partner that does haircuts on Tuesday, for example.
Wow.
So imagine to be on the streets and come to a place where they can get to know you by name, and they treat you with respect. You can get 3 meals a day. You can get a shower. You can get new clothing. You can get your clothing washed. You could get access to the internet and phone use. We've got we do snack packs. We have a medical partner that does basic wound care. If you cut your elbow not a big deal, right?
Sure.
But if you're sleeping under an underpass or behind a building
Mm-hmm.
24/7, basic wounds can get infected. It can lead to a number of problems. So having a partner that can help with basic medicine, or maybe you've lost your prescriptions if you've been out on the street, having a partner that can help renew prescriptions and get people access to basic medical care, that keeps them out of the emergency rooms.
Sure.
And so it's a huge relief to our big local hospitals
Mm-hmm.
and reducing their expenses. My boss, Eric, often calls it the carousel of chaos.
Okay.
If you're out on the street, you're constantly shifted from one partner to another. Oh, we don't help you with that. You've got to go here. Well, how do I get there? You've got to get a bus pass. Well, we can't help you with a bus pass. You've got to go now Panhandle to get money to get a bus pass to get to this other agency. And then you get to that agency, and now you've got to go over to this agency across town to fill out this paperwork so that you can now apply for this. And so it's, again, this carousel of chaos. And so you've got people that are on the street. Many of them are dealing with mental health issues. Sometimes there's addiction issues. Sometimes they're fleeing domestic violence situations. And now you add this whole rigmarole of running all over town when you don't have access to
That's
resources.
even frustrating when you're trying to get the government to do something that,
Yeah.
if you're not experiencing homelessness, to find out, oh, I got
Right.
there and I didn't have the right form, or I didn't have the right color, pen that I
Yeah.
used, or, oh, I needed to go to this office first to get that stamped and then come back to this office.
So that frustration, that just the idea of that frustration is one of the reasons that we've created this comprehensive day center. Many large cities across America have a day center. It's not a shelter, but it's a place you can come to for help. Think of it like their front door for homeless services.
Okay.
And so if people are experiencing a crisis, or they're finding themselves on the street, or maybe they've left a situation where there's no opportunity for them and they've come to Central Florida, they tend to gravitate to a downtown area. So if you're on the street, you're not going to go sleep in front of an upscale neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to stand out like a sore thumb, right? You're going to come to a city center where you can blend in. There's more people. There's more resources. You're just able to blend in more.
There's more hustle and bustle, and
Right.
it's easier to kind of get
And
lost.
traditionally, that goes back to the beginning of time. Probably, like we're talking ancient Rome,
Mhm.
ancient Egypt. You think of like pre-industrial revolution. Major cities would be draws for people who didn't have a place to stay, right? So that's always going to be the case. And so, like I mentioned, where are the three shelters? They're in the downtown Orlando corridor, right? And so having a resource like ours, a campus where you can come to, and if this is your first time, especially, and you've never been on the street before, it can be a pride issue. It can be hard to ask for help.
Yep.
But also just, you've never been here before. You don't know where to begin. And so to have a place you can just walk right in, and you can ask for help, and you can get pointed to the right resources. And the Christian Service Center, by and large, we're not going to send you all over town.
We're going
We're
to
going to send you down the hallway. We're going to send you
and
out
you're
to
gonna
the
help you with
courtyard
that.
to see a partner. So it's this really great, very active, alive community. It's about a 2-acre campus downtown, and then out in Ocoee, it's a small property where, again, we've got case managers, and we do lunch, and there's showers a couple days a week. And so it's a place you can come to, and you can really just get treated with dignity and respect, and hopefully help you take that next step.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. This wasn't one of the questions I asked you leading up to this, but you've been talking so eloquently about what it is that you do and who you serve and how you serve them, and you've undoubtedly inspired some of our folks that are watching today.
Oh, I hope so.
How can they help you? What is it that someone who's watching this today can do to get involved? Is there a list of needs that you have? Is there a way for them to get involved with donations of money, or donations of items, or volunteering, or advocacy? How can people help that are watching today?
All the above.
Okay.
So, of course, financial gifts are great.
Okay.
I encourage everybody to check out our website. It's christianservicecenter.org.
Okay. And I'm sure Dorothy will put that in the chat so they can click. Great. Thank you, Dorothy. Okay.
And like I mentioned earlier, we always need clothing.
Clothing. Okay.
Yes.
And is there a particular
Particularly men's clothing.
men's clothing?
Yes.
Okay. And do you like casual clothing? Do you need clothing
We
for people
need-
to wear for interviews? Clothing for people to wear outside in the heat,
It's
in the cold? What do you need?
mostly practicals.
Practical clothing.
Blue
Okay.
jeans, khakis, shorts. Think about, if you were living outside, what's going to wear out first? It's things from the ground up.
Okay.
So new shoes or gently used shoes,
Okay.
new socks. The only thing that has to be new when you donate clothing, by the way, is socks and underwear.
Okay.
Those have to be new.
Okay. In the packaging.
Right. Everything else can be gently used or new.
Okay.
You can find great deals at Costco and Sam's Club.
Sure.
Especially as the weather dips here, to get sweatshirts and sweaters. we're going to need that, but particularly men's clothing. So the pants, like I said, the shoes, the socks, even belts. We get donations from a lot of people that have had very fortunate and blessed lives, and their pant sizes tend to be a little bit more plus size.
Okay.
And so we always need belts because a lot of the people we help are emaciated and thin.
Okay.
And so to get the 44 plus pants when we need
32s.
32s and 29s. So belts is always a need.
Okay.
But shoes especially, particularly in the summertime. We've had people who literally are barefoot, and you can imagine in a Orlando summer that just the sizzling concrete, not just the heat from the sun, but coming up from the asphalt.
Okay.
And you can actually burn your feet on the concrete. So to have shoes and fresh socks is huge. And so we accept donations at our downtown location Monday through Friday. It's really between 10 and 3, Monday through Thursday, and then from 9 to 12 on Friday. We shut a little bit early on Friday so our case managers can do some paperwork and things like that.
Okay. And so they can just, no appointment necessary for that. They can just bring it down to you in a bag and say, hey, here's some clothing. And
there's a donation drop-off on the side just outside our main gate.
Oh, okay, great.
And then a COE has a drop-off as well. And clothing is a huge need. Financial gifts are always welcome, of course.
Sure.
Like I mentioned, we have a huge operating budget. And what's neat about the Christian Service Center is that your support is directly helping people. Whether it's the cost to help with the meals or to help with the rental assistance and utilities assistance to operate and help thousands of people every year. It really does take a village to do that. You can also, we're about approaching the holidays here. And so we're just starting, every year around the holidays, we do what's called our Blue Bags Food and Clothing Drive.
Great. And so what does that involve?
So we offer blue canvas bags, but you can really use any bag that you want. You can use grocery bags, you can fill boxes, but we collect food around the holidays to fill our food pantries, to restock our shelves. Because by the end of the summer, our food pantry is looking pretty bare. We have a food pantry at each of our locations, and most of those items are donated by the public from families and churches. And so we really need to stock up for the holidays.
And what types of things do you need? So as I'm starting to think about, doing some shopping, or, I'm going out to do my weekly grocery shopping and I want to get something, what types of food items are most needed?
We need a lot of the staples, the peanut butter and jelly, the mac and cheese that's in a box. We need pasta sauce. We need pasta. We need canned proteins. So
what are some examples of?
So like hearty soups, right?
Okay.
Vienna sausages, like hearty meals that somebody can cook. And a lot of these things you can now get in pop-top cans.
Oh.
Like I mentioned, most of the people on our campus are already on the streets.
Yep.
They don't have a
can
kitchen
opener.
or a can opener.
Okay.
Handy. So to have pop-top cans is huge. But those non-perishable, preferably healthy snacks that we can put into, our volunteers can help put into snack packs that we can give out to people during the daytime. There are people, like I said, on our campus that work, and so maybe they missed the lunch service, right? Or maybe they won't be here for the dinner service, so we could give them some supplemental items. So there is a needs list on our website as well.
Okay.
So you can you go to the want to help section on our website.
Okay.
And you can look up our food pantry inventory and the blue bags that I mentioned, how to help be part of the blue bags. And then we do one fundraiser during the year.
I know that's coming up. So we've got 2 more minutes. So let's talk about your fundraiser. What's going on?
The Christian Service Awards. It's our annual breakfast. It was supposed to take place October 11th, but Hurricane Milton changed our plans.
Okay.
So it's coming up on Friday, November 22nd.
Great.
There's no cost to attend, but it is invite only. So you would need to go to our website at christianservicecenter.org/banquets.
Okay.
And you can find out how to be part of that banquet.
Sure. And you can invite them, right? So if a member from the chamber wants to go, you can invite them. Okay.
Yeah, there's a link there, and you can register, and you can say you were invited by us.
Great.
But we really do encourage our board members and our volunteers and our partners to invite other people who maybe don't know us or aren't familiar with our services to come to this breakfast. And it's a great way, without coming to the campus, it's a great way to learn about the organization. And then with the Christian Service Awards, we're recognizing outstanding individuals that are doing really great volunteer work in the community.
Now, is that a surprise, or do you want to talk about who you're honoring?
No, I can mention it if we have time.
Yeah.
Or you can check it out on the website.
Okay, perfect. So you can go on the website there.
Yes.
We are just wrapping up here from Boardwalk Bowl on East Colonial. Today is our Great Lunch Adventures. That starts at 12:30. So after all the interviews have concluded today, and folks like me and Brian are off the air, you can hop in your car and drive down here and have a delicious lunch. They were talking earlier about the wings and the pizza. So get excited for that. The sliders, I think, were a good one that they were talking about too. So we will see you down here at Boardwalk Bowl for Great Lunch Adventures. And thank you again, Brian. I really appreciate you being a part of the morning.
My pleasure.
And make sure to check out the link in the comments for how you can get involved. And have a great Tuesday, everybody.